my evaluation of how the Miami Texas A&M game was going to play out was completely inaccurate. Was not even close because I didn't factor into one key thing. Jimbo Fisher, the man who was coaching for Texas A&M. First, I want to talk about the Miami angle to this. I give a lot of credit, and I say this in every time that I'm wrong when I do these videos, these reactions. I'm always going to admit when I'm wrong. I was not off base for what I said about Mario Cristobol. I really thought that this team had a lot of talent. Cam Kitchens, Leonard Taylor are two players that I'm really bullish on for the 2024 NFL draft. I think there's athletes all over that roster. I was not expecting their offensive line to look that good, and I was hoping for their run game to play a key factor, which it did. But what I did not anticipate was for Tyler Van Dyke to be set up to succeed as well as he played in this game. I have historically been very, very low on Tyler Van Dyke, and in his time with multiple other offensive coordinators, he has really struggled. He has been a guy that has forced the ball into situations that has led to turnovers, incompletions, just really head-scratching decisions, and that didn't happen today. He was a little slow to get going. There were some drops, but he really hit his mark, was consistently on pace, didn't second-guess himself, and the offensive play calling was masterful against a defense that was supposed to be significantly more dominant, was supposed to pressure him like crazy, was supposed to create a lot of sacks and tackles for loss. None of that happened in this game because that game was perfectly well called by Miami's offensive coordinator. So I'm giving tons of credit to Miami for the way that that game was coached. I have also gone as far as to say this past offseason that I think the way that they have been recruiting and the way that this young roster is progressing has shown that there's a bright future eventually for Miami. And I think next season is going to be a really big year for them. And this season might even be one where they can do some damage. I don't think they're as bad as some people anticipated. Again, like I said in the preseason, they were not as bad as a lot of people assumed. A lot of people thought that they were going to be a bottom 5 team in the ACC this year, and that didn't play out. Now my thoughts, though, on Jimbo Fisher. I am just beyond the point where I'm tired of giving him time. And I think that any Texas A&M fan or SEC fan or just college football fan should be in that same boat. We have had enough time to evaluate him at Texas A&M to know that he's just not going to get the job done. I understand that last year was a difficult season, and then to turn around and to have immediate success is a difficult task. But for the gradual regression and then to now in 2024, in a non-conference game, in a team in a conference that historically has been a lot weaker than yours, especially right now, to show up and get embarrassed the way that you did is just a terrible testament and an accurate testament, a good example of his lack of coaching capability in 2023. He is beyond the guy that we saw win national championships. He's not that guy anymore. And I think that his lack of execution was very clearly visible in this game for a number of reasons. The kickoff return for a touchdown very early on in the second half, that is special teams execution. That goes on the head coach for me. I think the lack of energy in spots, the lack of intensity in areas where they could have really closed out, put their foot on the throat of Miami early on in that game and rode a ton of momentum. And they didn't. They allowed so many opportunities, not only for Miami to come back in the game, to take the lead and then create a massive lead at the end of the game and later on in the second half. I put so much of that on the head coach. Absolutely so much of that on the head coach. The mistakes that we saw offensively and defensively, it all comes down to coaching. And when you have struggled over the past couple of years, you have to place the blame on the man who's calling the shots over everything, and that being your head coach, Jimbo Fisher. My final point with this is at the end of the season, he's done. I don't see a way, and I'm not saying that this Miami loss is what's going to get him fired, but this is a pretty strong indication that nothing is going to be different from last year. I don't even know if they go 5-7, even if they go 6-6 or 7-5, which was my prediction at the ahead of the season, was around that 6-6 range. I don't know how you as Texas A&M fans and as Texas A&M's administration would willingly want to keep him around. That product on the field was terrible. You got dominated on the road at Miami. a team that is supposed to be 2 steps behind you in their progression as a team, in a stadium that was half full. That's embarrassing. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think. If you think I'm wrong, drop a comment. If you think I'm right, drop a comment as well. We'll be back with more. Make sure you check out Bet Online for all of your sports betting needs. For anything that I do betting related, I go on over to betonline.ag and I use promo code BELIEVE50. BetOnline has all of the latest updated odds for the NFL and college football seasons. Anything you need, whether it's futures, live in-game betting, no matter what, your football betting needs are met at BetOnline. And again, make sure you use that promo code BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50 to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.